Hi, trash.
Concentrate, watch out for these baseballs.
What's good? Recycling bin.
This is it, this is it, this is it, this is it.
Welcome to the dumpster.
They're coming, they're coming. Oh my God, I'm a no. Yes, oh my God, did you see that?
Colossal reads Diana.
I'm so high right now that I was holding a tube of mascara because my new obsession is putting on like 15 coats of mascara and a tampon in the other hand. And I sat down on the toilet to change my tampon whilst holding the tube of mascara and almost put it in my vagina instead of the tampon. TSA just stopped my bag after security, and I asked the lady why. And she just laughs and goes, "Well, there's an alarming amount of pills at the bottom of your bag." I shit myself. I left this mess and Ubered home in a blue PT Cruiser, and then had to pull over in an elementary school parking lot to throw up while wearing red nipple pasties at 8 a.m. Love that for me.
Several weeks have passed now since the Sniperwolf video came out on this channel, and a few things have happened. I think it was the day after it came out, Leah tweeted about how she's sort of almost kind of recognized in public all the time, which is actually a pretty good setup to joke about her lack of editing in real life being a disguise. Then the Thought Patrol was covered on Drama Alert by Keemstar, who admitted he doesn't really like her very much either.
A YouTuber known as Nerd City exposed the out of Sniperwolf. He uploaded a video titled Thought Patrol. Look, I don't like Sniperwolf. Alright, not that many people in the community really do. I mean, lying, talking trash.
And shortly after that, Sniperwolf blocked me on Twitter.
Oh no!
Then Sausage Wolf uploaded a new cosplay.
I know who cosplay next. You should. This person right here cosplay as you should.
It's a Fortnite cosplay, and people have been relentlessly retweeting it at me, tagging me underneath the original post, commenting on YouTube videos, describing it to me, trying to make sure that I see this thing.
Hello, 911, I'd like to report this woman.
So I've seen it now, and yes, you're right. It does not take an expert to notice that this is another editing mess. Sausage Wolf, you suck at this kind of editing. Just stop or get better. You suck. You suck at this. I can't believe you did this one when you know that everyone's looking for editing mistakes.
Sucks to suck, man.
But before we get into that, let's talk about what might be an ideal way to respond when you get caught tweaking your pictures. James Charles is a beauty guru on YouTube. He was the first male cover girl, if you remember that news story. And he recently got caught face tuning a French fry. His fans spotted it. He admitted it. He said he made a mistake. No big deal. He's very open about the fact that he facetunes and edits his pictures.
I just really love photo editing, and in my opinion, photo editing and retouching is just as much of an art as actual makeup itself.
On the other hand, Sniperwolf tells her fans that she doesn't edit her photos.
I wonder if people think I Photoshop my pics. I don't Photoshop any of my pics. I don't have time for that.
And she has a nasty history of calling people out for editing theirs, so.
Her caption, I don't plan on being a beauty queen, but I do know I'm beautiful being me. I'm beautiful being Photoshop. Dang, get caught. Was it worth it? Was it worth those 11 likes? I swear I didn't Photoshop my pics. My door just does that.
I can understand why people want to drag her on this Fortnite photo, and I guess I kind of still do too.
Be gone, Thought!
The thing is, I'm not exactly anti-editing myself. Obviously, I enjoy editing content to make it look better, and I'm at least neutral on the topic of editing yourself to try and look good. We're not going to get rid of editing all of a sudden. It's only going to become more prevalent and harder to tell. The compromise has to be just make the best content you can, do a good job at it, and tell the truth.
If you're going to do this, do it on a plain background, because this could actually be believable.
All right, so just at a glance, what would you think she edited? What would you guess?
Can you make my booty bigger? Kim K style. I want to make them bitches jealous. Hee thanks.
With Instagram being what it is these days and beauty standards trending a little thick, there are certain parts of the body that you see getting edited over and over on Instagram. They're almost always tweaked. Instagram models want a big caboose, a thinner waist, a bigger chest, and a lot of times skinny arms.
These are unrealistic standards.
So let's look at this photo. Now, the flash on the camera phone is doing the thought patrol a big favor here. This kind of shadow is called a halo shadow, and it happens when your brightest light source is facing the subject. Because she's the same distance away from the wall, up and down her body, we should see a shadow that stays the same thickness traveling up and down the wall. But of course not, because this is poorly edited. So we're going to see that in those priority areas that we just mentioned, you'll see that the shadow starts to take a bit of a walk. The shadow is very thin all of a sudden, right at the wide part of the hips, and it's very stretched out right at the waist where you would tuck it in. And worst of all, it's stretched and pulled like saltwater taffy right around the chest.
When you fail at everything, you can't even get this right.
It's a mess in there. This mess right here is what you could easily call a Photoshop fail.
You think I got time to take a selfie, put it on my computer, Photoshop that, send it back to my phone, post it on Instagram? Hell no!
You just listed exactly the steps of what you don't do. What would you call that? Like an anti-tutorial? A denial tutorial? Oh, incriminating. That's what you would call it. Self-incrimination. It's like if you get pulled over by a cop and you say, "Officer, I did not just quietly open a window, silently slide inside a house, step over a vacuum cleaner that was falling over in the hallway, sneak up the stairs without making a creak, crack a safe, remove the valuables, put them in the trunk of my car. I don't have time for that." Cop would be like, I pulled you over for speeding. Please step out of your car and open the trunk. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt for a second and consider maybe the Photoshop is part of the cosplay. You do see that sometimes. You know, people will change out the background to a fantasy location or add flames, something that they couldn't replicate in person. Maybe this Fortnite character is really top heavy and really thick, and that was really the only way for Leah to look exactly the same? Yeah, no. No one assumes that the kids from Stranger Things
No, I just want to say, to me, I think
are writing the show. If you found out that One Direction songs were written by committee, I don't think you'd be surprised.
Surprise!
There are plenty of genres of entertainment where the performers aren't assumed to be the writers, and the idea of lyrics being a collaborative effort doesn't always detract from the enjoyability of a song. When pop stars look like models, or are really young, or a band works together to come up with the music, seeing multiple writing credits on a track is expected.
Good job.
But rap music is different.
This is called a holorhyme.
The worst hated god who perpetrated odd favors demonstrated in the perforated rod lavers. In all quad flavors, large savors.
Rap is so personality driven and based on lyrical skill that when someone says they're a fan of a rapper, it's just assumed they don't just enjoy the melody of their backing music, they like the way that artist thinks.
Most deaf can't even contain his excitement talking about Doom.
I bet $1 million on Doom against Lil Wayne. What up? To all rappers, shut up, and while you shutting up, put a shirt on, at least a button up.
What up? To all rappers, shut up with your shutting up and keep a shirt on, at least a button up.
Yuck. As they rappers are stripping males out of work jerks since they shut down shipping down.
Mental prowess is such a big part of what people respect about a rapper, obviously, right? Like freestyle rap and battle rap show how quickly a rapper is able to think on their feet and improvise. And some of the most successful rappers ever, like Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, amaze everyone with the fact that they don't even physically write their lyrics down. They just store them and tinker with them in their head.
I think he's the greatest, you know what I'm saying? The person that can do about 30 raps on his head, no forgetting that one of them. It's ingenious.
Functioning at that level is a creative ability that goes all the way to the point of genius. So you see rappers being graded on that scale, or at least expected to be somewhere on the creative spectrum. So for those reasons, anytime the rumor begins to circulate that a rapper might not be the author of their own lyrics, like what happened with Drake a couple years back, it's a scandal. Their stock begins to slide, or tanks, suddenly. It's damaging enough just to insinuate that somebody else gives them bars. So when DMs were leaked that showed that YouTube rapper RiceGum was being sent his lyrics by another YouTuber named Jaquan Russell, or Disgod,
I'm a hitter with a trick shot, 720 Instagram, jumping off the ledge.
that was an embarrassment for him.
For our first story of today, we have a huge story, probably the biggest story of the month. This one comes from RiceGum. Okay, so basically, there is this one guy called the Diss Rapper. He literally sent him like all of the verses, literally the entire diss track, and then he shows here that RiceGum responded saying, "Get me 2 more lines." So it looks like RiceGum is like asking him to basically make his diss tracks for him.
RiceGum was caught red-handed by those screen caps, and so he had to admit that he pays his buddy, at least sometimes, to write his lyrics.
This is from RiceGum himself. The first diss track I ever made, he wrote the whole thing because I had no idea how to even rap. He was compensated with money for his time. RiceGum obviously doesn't understand why everyone's freaking out about this.
One of the greatest cultural offenders on this front has to be one RiceGum.
You can be a goofy YouTuber with no connections to hip-hop whatsoever, take the tens of thousands of dollars that you make a month on YouTube, hand some of it to a ghostwriter, hand some of it to a producer.
And while he did drop quite a few awful tracks this year, I have to specifically point out his response track.
Platinum song, based off of a totally awful track, one of the worst songs of last year.
He just oozes this lack of self-confidence, and you can't really step on the mic and sound like you have no self-esteem.
And since so few people really respected RiceGum as a rapper anyway, that scandal just kind of died down until the Content Cop, which put new heat on RiceGum for using and hiding a ghostwriter. So as RiceGum prepared a diss track response, he made a point to record himself staying up late in his bedroom, writing the lyrics himself with a magic pen that could write upside down. The prevailing thought was that even if RiceGum normally uses a ghostwriter, he was definitely going to write them himself this time because he'd been called out for it and he was under a microscope.
And I'm like the Flash because I'm fast.
Well, he didn't. He didn't write it himself. He still didn't. And the proof of that hit the ACE and BMI songwriting registries a couple months ago. First, let's look at a random Jay-Z track just to show you how this works. The song is called A Ballad for the Fallen Soldier. And so you have performer, Jay-Z, and then under writers, you have Jay-Z, and the Neptunes, Chad and Pharrell, the beat makers. Now let's look at RiceGum's response to the Content Cop. No RiceGum under songwriters. Between the ASCAP and BMI credits, there's 100% ownership of this song represented here. Under songwriter, there's no Brian Lee, RiceGum, and there isn't even Jaquan Russell, Disgod, but there are these names. Youssel Ali, the owner of a company called Syft, and Dillon Rupp, a rapper affiliated with Syft, who apparently anyone can hire to ghostwrite a rap song for as little as $100.
Indiana on my back, put it on like a backpack.
The fact that there were multiple writers working on this track who may have had a limited understanding of who they were even talking about or who they were dissing was kind of obvious in the song itself. If you remember, there were multiple insults that were contradictory.
You look like your sister is the girl that you have sex with.
Is this nerd ever get pussy up? Yes or not?
You got a girl, but I can tell that you a little gay.
Snitching and NWA aren't exactly peanut butter and jelly. The lyrics felt cobbled together, the song barely made any sense, but we could only speculate about why it was such a failure until now. And just as a side note, the only songwriter listed for Dollar in the Woods is Keemstar. Believe it or not, it's true.
You know Keemstar? This song is called Dollar in the Woods.
Found a dollar, found a dollar, found a dollar in the woods. Found a dollar in the woods.
We've been enjoying making sponsored videos lately on this channel. You know, having the devil recommend making websites.
I can't make you follow me.
Having a cross-dressing Dr. Disrespect, shilling razor blades. But I'm more excited than ever to tell you about this sponsor because this site is already what we're doing on this channel. Skillshare is sponsoring this video. Like, this is an ad read, but look at me. I love it. I'm actually blown away by this site. Some people I know will call me or text me when there's something they don't know how to do, particularly related to software or computers for whatever reason. And I'll tell them if I know how to do it, but just as often, I'll have to tell them, I don't know how to do that. I have no idea how to do that. And they'll go, oh. And I'll say, but if I did want to know how to do that, I would probably watch a tutorial or take a class on it somewhere because that's what I do. That's my secret, Cat. I'm always watching tutorials. YouTube's an okay resource. You can search it and find a lot of tutorials. Often, though, they can be a little hard to understand. It'll be, maybe a child explaining how to use Adobe Premiere, or someone where English isn't their first language. Skillshare, however, is a community of high-end tutorials that are very easy to follow along with. When you sign up, you click through categories and you pick areas of interest. I picked areas that were of interest to me, and right away it started feeding me classes that I would be interested in.
And we're gonna get a little weird with type.
I watched a few from this guy, Aaron Draplin, this big old Santa Claus in the making from Oregon. He's awesome.
I've never been more ready to design something in my whole life.
I used what I learned from his tutorials about custom type to make part of the intro that you saw to this video.
Make it clean, make it dirty, make it rounded. Here I am injecting hot lava, molten graphic design knowledge right deep inside of each one of you.
This site is awesome.
A lot of the work I do, it's not overly complex.
I've watched a few hours of classes on here so far, and I can tell I'm only just starting to dig in. I've saved classes I haven't watched yet on using duotones in Photoshop. There's Instagram marketing, social media strategies, definitive guide to t-shirt design and manufacturing. I need to watch that. I can't wait. I legit love this site. I went through the process of signing up to check out this site myself, and I noticed that you can get a free trial by default. If you do it normally, you get 1 free month. But if you follow the link below that they gave me for Nerd City, you get 2 free months. The page changes automatically to give you a better deal. So please do use that. It helps you, me, and them if you use that link. Because it's so important for brands to know what advertising is working, they're happy to give you a better deal coming through here. It's free to try for a month, but even if you were to splurge and buy a year's access to all of their classes, it still works out to be cheaper than a single college textbook.
That's a great price.
Before we go, I actually have a tutorial for PewDiePie. And more of a question, really.
But can you do this?
Why are you so damn lazy, boy?
How's it going, bro? Gotta get it like.
Lips, chin, nose. What else she got done?